Imagine waking up one morning, checking the news, and reading that a political party in your country has just announced that if you are above the age of 55, you are automatically disqualified from contesting any election on their platform. Not because of corruption, not because of incompetence, not because of any wrongdoing whatsoever, simply because of the year you were born. That is exactly what happened in Nigeria this week. And trust me, the story behind that headline is far more dramatic, far more layered, and far more entertaining than you might expect. So grab a seat because we are going in deep today. The man at the center of this announcement is Nafiu Bala Gombe, the factional national chairman of the African Democratic Congress, the party widely known as the ADC. During an interview with BBC Hausa, Gombe drew a very clear line in the sand. He said, and I am summarizing here, that the ADC under his leadership will give young people a real chance at politics, and that anyone above 55 years of age will simply not be allowed to contest for any position on their platform. His vision, as he described it, is about generational change, fresh ideas, and handing the future of Nigeria to the generation that will actually live in it. On the surface, that sounds like exactly what this country needs. But here is where the story gets interesting, because that one word, factional, changes absolutely everything. You see, the ADC is not a united, stable, functioning political party right now. It is a party at war with itself. Two competing groups, two sets of people, both claiming to be the legitimate leadership of the same organization. On one side, you have the faction led by former Senate President David Mark. On the other side, you have Nafiu Bala Gombe's group. And right in the middle of this internal battle, Nigeria's Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, stepped in and made a decision that essentially froze the entire party. INEC struck the names of David Mark and former Ogun Governor Ogbeni Aregbesola from its official records as National Chairman and National Secretary of the ADC, following a Court of Appeal judgment. Then, in a move that stunned the political world, INEC went a step further and declared that it would not engage with either faction, not Mark's group, not Gombe's group, until a federal high court in Abuja resolves the dispute. In practical terms, this means the ADC, as a functioning political platform, is currently in a kind of legal limbo. Now, why does that matter so much? Because the ADC is not just any small, obscure opposition party right now. This is the party that some of Nigeria's biggest political names have staked their 2027 ambitions on. We are talking about former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. We are talking about Peter Obi, who shook the nation in 2023. We are talking about Rabiu Kwankwaso. These are household names, people with millions of followers and enormous political capital. And all of them have been positioning themselves around the ADC as their preferred platform for the 2027 general elections. So when INEC effectively says we are not recognizing anyone in that party right now, the ripple effect is enormous. And if the courts do not resolve this before the 2027 election timetable runs out, some of those high-profile aspirants may find themselves without a valid platform to contest on. That's not just a political problem, that's a potential crisis for Nigerian democracy. If you are finding this story as fascinating as I am, do me a quick favor right now. Hit that like button. It takes 2 seconds, and it helps this channel reach more Nigerians who deserve to understand what is happening in their country. Now, back to the story. This brings us to perhaps the most entertaining character in this entire drama, Governor Bala Mohammed of Bauchi State, who also serves as chairman of the PDP Governors Forum. In recent weeks, Bala Mohammed has been on what can only be described as a political tour of desperation. He publicly declared that all reconciliation efforts within the PDP had completely collapsed. He said the PDP, under the influence of FCT Minister Nyesom Wike, was no longer a safe political home for him. So he turned his eyes towards the APC, the ruling party. What happened next? The APC stakeholders in Bauchi met and unanimously said, in the most polite but firm way possible, "You are not welcome here." They argued that Mohammed had publicly criticized President Tinubu and the APC on multiple occasions without ever retracting those statements, and that bringing him in would undermine the party's unity in Bauchi. So here is a sitting governor, a man with political experience, a large following, and strong grassroots connections, being rejected by his own party and turned away at the door of another. But the story doesn't end there. Just hours after Mohammed publicly signaled his interest in joining the ADC, something extraordinary happened. The APC, the same party that had just said it didn't want him, dispatched its national chairman and several state governors to Bauchi to essentially beg him not to leave for the opposition. Think about that for a moment. The ruling party that publicly rejected a man suddenly sent a high-level delegation to stop him from going elsewhere. What does that tell you? It tells you that despite all the noise, the APC is genuinely rattled by the opposition momentum building around the ADC. The ruling party's actions were speaking an entirely different language from its words. But here is the twist that makes the whole thing almost poetic. Governor Bala Mohammed is 62 years old. Under Nephew Bala Gombe's age limit policy, if Mohammed were to join the ADC and attempt to contest for any position, he would be immediately disqualified, not because of the ongoing legal battles, not because of party disagreements, but simply because of his age. The man who spent weeks trying to find a political home might have walked into a house with a sign on the door that reads, "Not for you." Nigerian politics truly writes its own scripts. Now, let's ask the honest question that this whole situation raises. Is the idea of an age limit in political parties actually a good one? The case in favor of it is genuinely strong. Nigeria is one of the youngest countries in the world by population, with a median age around 18 years. Yet, for decades, the same set of older politicians have dominated the space, recycling themselves from party to party, position to position, often with the same results. The #NotTooYoungToRun movement in 2018 was a landmark moment. It reduced the minimum age for presidential candidates from 40 to 35, but many argued it didn't go nearly enough. Youth political representation in Nigeria remains far below what the population demographics would suggest it should be. So when someone stands up and says, "We are drawing a line, the future belongs to the young," a large percentage of Nigerians will find that deeply compelling. But the opposing argument is as serious, and it deserves to be heard. Nigeria's constitution sets minimum age limits for various offices, but it doesn't set a maximum. Creating one, even within a party's internal rules, raises real questions about fairness. Age alone does not determine a person's ideas, their vision, or their capacity to serve. There are 60-year-olds with more progressive thinking than some 35-year-olds, and there are young politicians who have shown that youth guarantees nothing about integrity or competence. The deeper question is this: is Gombe's age limit declaration a genuine, enforceable policy commitment, or is it a brilliant piece of political marketing, a way of rebranding a troubled, court-frozen faction as the voice of the youth at a time when youth engagement is the most valuable political currency? That's a question only the coming months will answer. What we do know right now is this: the ADC is legally frozen, its leadership is disputed, INEC has walked away from both factions pending a court ruling, and the biggest opposition names in Nigeria are watching anxiously to see if their 2027 platform survives the legal storm. Governor Bala Mohammed remains, in the words of one political analyst, the man in political no man's land, wanted by everyone, committed to no one. And in the middle of all this chaos, one man stood before a microphone and said, "If you are above 55, you can't play in our space." It's bold, it's controversial, and whether it's wise or reckless, it started a conversation that Nigerian politics desperately needed. Here's what I want to leave you with today. The age limit story is the headline, but the real story is about what happens when a nation's opposition is too fractured to mount a unified challenge. A divided, court-frozen, faction-riddled opposition is, ultimately, the greatest gift any ruling party could receive ahead of a major election. Nigeria deserves better than that. And the question of whether the ADC, in whatever form survives this legal battle, can actually deliver an alternative is the question that will define the road to 2027. If this video gave you clarity, gave you something to think about, or simply entertained you, please like it right now. It genuinely helps more Nigerians find this content. And if you're not yet subscribed to this channel, this is your sign. Hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you never miss a breakdown like this one. Drop your thought in the comments. Do you support an age limit of 55 in political parties, or do you think it goes too far? I read every comment and I want to hear where you stand. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and remember, in Nigeria, every headline is just the beginning of a much bigger story.